Hey guys, Mustached Tom here, and I'm here to talk about episode 6 of the Digital Amazing Circus and where I think it should go versus whatever it's going to do. I don't know, but I digress. So, obviously I do plan to do a full season review of another indie show because I love giving indie creators, equal an opportunity space to review their content, but to review them as objectively as any other thing. And so that brings me here. Now, again, since I don't know when the season will end of this show, I figured 6 episodes is still a lot to cover, so... And this episode, in particular, episode 6, that dropped, did cover a lot of ground in it of itself, and where I would want to see it, and the maybe slight criticism I might have of the show. Now, it has become quite clear to me in the 6 episodes that I have seen that what this series has kind of driven to is sort of, there was this sort of initial plot, of Pomni trying to discover a way out of this. Once discovering that there was apparently no way out, the plot kind of just vanished. And it just sort of became a character show, which, I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a character-driven show, but I do find it a bit interesting or bizarre, perhaps, that the plot is indeed gone, or rather, removed. Especially so early on in the show. And I think this episode rounds out the remaining characters and character work, I feel. Maybe with the exception of Zubul, I feel maybe the one that feels like the least we've learned about it, with the exception of the previous episode. If it wasn't for that episode, I would definitively have given it to her, or them, rather. But I digress in saying that this episode, I feel like, kind of roundabouts the remaining cast, and that does leave a bit of a big question mark, is where does the show go from here? Now that the groundwork, where I would suspect the groundwork for all the characters has officially been laid to, we can pretty much subscribe sort of a bit of Jax's point of view of them becoming sort of these archetypes, in a sense, to, how far can they stretch those archetypes to a story without a plot, is sort of my question, I suppose. Now, as is tradition, as a big jelly man, I have talked about on this channel before, because I have always wanted to be a voice actor myself, one of the things that I talk about are the shows that are so good that I would be honored to be a part of them, even unpaid. Even for the meme of just expose me. I said a similar attitude to when Has Been Hotel / Hell of a Boss came out. I am very much aligned and dreaming that I could have, even had a chance of being on that show, but I already recognized that only popular people ever end up on that show as guest stars, so my chance of reaching that dream is objectively zero. I have to realize this. I don't know because I don't know if the amazing digital circus has a very similar outcome, because I'm fairly certain there hasn't been any guest stars. There was this like non-canonical song thing with this other character, I guess, that they did. But that was like a part of another channel that did that work, so again, not canon and didn't, whatever. But yeah, I would want to be a character in this show. Like, I feel like there's an archetype that is missing, that I feel like I could very much play into, and I think I would, like, in injunction, be like, hey, like, this is the part you can be improved upon, and here's how I would fix it. So obviously we have this big moment in episode 6 where Jax almost, abstracts, as it were, when he's in the stall by himself after his moments in that episode, freaking out over Pomni being that close to him in that way, and even in a friendship zone sort of way. So what I feel, if I were a writer, or if I ever got the opportunity to be a voice actor in a cameo appearance, what I would want my character to do, because I'm a selfish asshole, I would want to be this new male character that's obviously younger than King, obviously, probably around Jack's age. I don't know what his age is confirmed to be officially, but I think King implied that he was the youngest among the crew, apparently. So having that, another male character to sort of level out, sort of like this, a balance that I feel Jax needs rather than any other, because I don't think Jax can be reached by King. I don't feel like the writing on that would feel particularly earned after this episode anyway, where it's like even Ragatha is like, probably shouldn't do that, and it feels like he would push King away too, and King would be like, oh, okay, he would just kind of accept it, which is why I feel like a character that would break through, a male character that could break through, if not Pomni, because I feel like Pomni has already kind of broken through, but not in a positive way necessarily, though breaking through did occur, I suppose, in this episode. Again, not necessarily all positive, but I feel like the final break and this new character introduction, I feel like since they've already kind of I guess mini lied about the whole like the show not having any romance and literally having a character mention sex but having it blurted out, I feel like having a male that's way more mischievous but swinging it both ways would actually be really fun. And I mean mischievous in a coy way, not in an asshole way. Like, Drax is very much asshole to push people away, to, like, kind of, avoid those close friendships as I mentioned. And what I'm talking about is slightly a variant of that, of, again, more mischievous but playful about it, more upbeat and sly about it, more cunning, akin to a fox, or a in terms of animal representation, or a kitsune, very Japanese in mythology. So I guess that would be the avatar in question, would literally just be a fox character. Fox Bunny, right? You have prey versus, then you have the whole like prey versus predator whole thing going on there. You can even have jokes about that. So, the cool dynamics. So, the reason I say flirts both ways is that I think that would also play off of the bit that Jax just did in this episode where he just said, oh, was it, and I felt like that was almost a double dig. It was a dig against sort of Hell of a Boss and Has Been Hotel for finally having gay characters be heavily prioritized as main characters in a show, and having them be three-dimensional and be the focal point for once in big indie animation shows, which I don't think has ever happened in our history of them in television. Again, main character status. I'm struggling to think of gay characters. Lesbian characters have gotten a little bit more. I'm talking explicitly male-male, because of Blitz and Stolas is what I'm referring to when I say that. So yeah, I feel like that was a little bit of a dig at that, while simultaneously, so I feel like it was a double joke about, the very weak straight couples that we typically get more associated in, say, in a Disney-esque sort of way, where the straight couple gets to fall in love in, a day, and that's it. And, the chemistry is very thin, a lot of the time in very early Disney movies, and still even seems to be the case in the remakes and so on and so forth, so that hasn't been removed by any stretch or imagination by any means. So I feel like having that flirtatious character and have him swing both ways would be the most easy way to break through to Jax in a way that would make him so uncomfortable that it would force him to realize what the fuck he's doing, because I think he kinda does, but that those spacing out moments kinda makes me consistently go, but I don't think it's actually sinking in. I don't think he's internalizing it and it's maintaining long enough. And maybe this is the first instance of that breaking, potentially. Who knows? That's a wait-and-see moment of the next episode. But I feel like a new character in this regard would very purposely, see what kind of character Jax is at first, and then in response, this new character that I would love to play would purposely flirt with even Pomni just to get to him, in this very semi-flamboyant way that again swings both ways, but this character would know how to do it, this very cunning character, so the writing would match that energy, propping her up while sinking him down, to be no, sort of like the play on what he was kind of alluding to, this male machismo that he feels like he needs to have, and sort of playing off of that energy, being no, you don't necessarily even need that. You see, I can just do this, and I can still get the girl kind of attitude that this character would bring, and force Jax to be that works. That worked, right? Or, confuse him, right? Make him actually think about, a different way to internalize the whole Pomni situation, because I feel like that connection is the strongest in the entire show. At least in terms of, main character to main character, because I feel like these two are the main characters of the show. And the other characters are, the side B characters that are still really strong, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, if I were forced to, gun to head, like, you can only pick 1 to 2 characters to be your main characters, I would point to these two. So yeah, this character, again, would play off of that energy that Jax pursues so much. And then when he's like, you know, when Jax is infuriated by this, because you probably would play it off as trying to do that, have that flip, right? And then they'd be like, what? Like, oh, that caught me off guard. Something to that effect. I don't know. I'm just throwing out silly ideas that I think could simultaneously work to bridge the gap while simultaneously bringing a comedic edge to it simultaneously. So yeah, those are my silly ideas to what I would bring to the next episode. But in terms of just getting back to the plot very briefly before I close the video, I kind of just still do have the question of what is, like, the end goal here, right? What is, like, what are we working towards? Are we working towards anything? Is it really just continuous silly adventures? Is that really it? I don't know. I mean, based off of this episode, that seems to be the implied case. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not in the writer's head, so I can only do is shrug, so... Anywho, so yeah, like, I would say that, to me, that's why a show like Husband Hotel is at least stronger for me. Even Hell of a Boss, by that standard, is still stronger, because it still has a plot, despite the, you know, side family dynamics and odd jobs. It's still to be, like, this sort of restructuring of hell, and, like, all this other dynamic stuff is sort of happening. Like, there's, like, other dynamics outside of just the characters, which is why I have a higher appreciation for that type of show than the Amazing Digital Circus. Don't get me wrong, I think this is still a great show. I just think that it can elevate further, and that bringing the plot back into the attention, whatever that may be, or maybe even bringing back a new, or bringing in a new type of character to spice things up. Even that alone can drive interesting new dynamics and interesting dynamics, because, I don't know, I feel like Jax actually pointed out my biggest criticism with the show is that if you're just gonna have the characters fit the, you know, their archetypes, like, that can only go on so long. And I feel like this show has a lot more potential. I don't know. I mean, I guess, again, it's up to the writers to decide when to end their own show, ultimately. But I mean, like, if I were writing the show, I feel like I'd have a lot of space and room and lots of ideas at this juncture. Like, this to me feels like you've reached a point of, like, now that all the characters are done, now to focus in on what is the story with those characters in mind. That is the point where I'm at on this show, where I'm just like, okay, now we're here, let's figure out where to go. And again, maybe the writers are not focused on that, and who knows. Again, it's a wait and see for me, but those are my thoughts on episode 6 and what I would want to see moving forward, in my desperate desire to finally be a voice actor on the table yet again. So if you ended up enjoying this little video, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links in the description. One, head you to my petition about small YouTubers. Second, to my PayPal, we can help support me and my channel directly. And third, to my Discord server, you can join, collab, shield, all that cool stuff for free. And until next time, everyone, bye-bye.